I just want to get the ball rolling by asking a few questions of everybody. Lucy Gannon, Eve Myles, the other one, Kelly. And I just personally want to say thank you very, very much for this team. I have to say, you know, we make in in-house drama, we make a lot of shows every year, and this one has been very, very special and brilliantly led by Hilary and Erica up there, and a terrific team of directors from beginning to end. When Lucy and I first talked about district nurses, which was how long ago, Lucy?
About 7 years.
No, it wasn't the longest time. One of the things that Lucy said is that she saw Frankie as a kind of small town heroine. She's a fighter. I want to just ask Lucy now, you know, how you feel having gone through the show, what Frankie means to you before we bring Frankie.
Yeah, I think one of the nicest things that was said about Frankie was halfway through when somebody said, I want to be Frankie's friend. And I sort of thought, yeah, that's how I felt writing it. I really liked the character of Frankie, and I was delighted when we got Eve. But the thing about district nurses is, you know, there's always fuss now about nursing and, you know, the scandals and neglect of elderly people and everything. And the community nurse or the district nurse is the sort of the unsung heroine or hero who's out in the community, keeping people away from hospitals, keeping them in their own homes, giving them the level of care they need. And nobody ever talks about them because they think it's all varicose veins and ingrown toenails. And it's so much more than that, because varicose veins and ingrown toenails can end you up in a hospital, and you know, it can eventually lead to your death. And I just thought these are unsung heroines, and she's such an unlikely heroine. She's great. She's flawed, but she's not a drunk. She's not on drugs. She's a nice person that you'd like to know.
Me, on the other hand.
Yeah, we cast against type, really.
I think the lovely thing about the district nurse is how the effect they have on the entire family, not just the patient. It's the entire family that they help. Completely, you know, selflessness and just kind of, it's just what they do. And if you were to talk to a district nurse, they'd completely kind of bash you down for it and say, oh, you know, they don't like any sort of being made to look like heroines or anything like that, do they? They're very kind of, they're incredible. They kind of like, I think of them as angels in a way, because they come into people's houses and they listen. And they're fantastic listeners.
I don't think of them as angels. I think they're sort of anti-heroic, really, because they are dealing with the minutiae of life.
Yes.
But it's the minutiae of life that when you get to a certain age, it can bug you up completely, you know, it can wreck your life. And it's the district nurse who comes in and who knows what to do.
And that's, you know, from a drama's point of view, as you're saying, I mean, every small ailment happens to a person. A person is part of a community, of a family, and then part of a wider community. So how easy was it to find stories for Frankie?
Well, it was dead easy. I mean, I started off saying, oh my God, it's going to be Ingrown Toenail of the Week, you know, but it wasn't. In fact, you know, there were lots and lots of stories to be told. And then, of course, you get the team around them, you know, you get the... We've got to have a male nurse in there, we've got to have somebody sexy in there. I mean, you're sexy, but... And then you have to get the young nurses who've been trained in a different way. And it's interesting, we've got two young nurses in there who will be graduate nurses, who've come up a different way. And you can see their different attitudes to the patients. That I think they're no less heroic in their own way, but they have got a different attitude to the attitude that Frankie has got and that Mary, the older nurse, has got. And so it's interesting building that team up as well. But I don't think of them as angels. I think of them as you and me, who've chosen a particular profession and who are very constrained in that profession and working very hard.
So Eve, one of the things when I first started looking at footage, I thought, bloody hell, I really believe you're a nurse. There is a sort of, when you get those needles out, you get those blood pressure goes, God, she's good. How much nursing training did you do? I didn't. Just pretending.
I just did some acting. No, it's we had some, you know, fantastic advice on set. And before every kind of scene where I had to do something like that, you know, we went through it, you know, literally with the fine tooth comb, we went through exactly how it would be, because the last thing I want is for a district nurse or anyone in the medical profession to go off,
start writing the letters.
Yeah, that doesn't work. I didn't want to do that, so we made sure that we did everything correctly.
But it's also, I think, the way you sort of whatever's happening in the moment, you kind of find that professional thing of, right, this is a nurse moment, you know, Frankie does.
Yeah,
what do you think of her now as a character, having lived her through 6 episodes, you know, that balance of personal and professional?
Well, she's a fantastic nurse, and she kind of does take control of the situation that she's in, and like when you see the little girl there becoming very ill, she kind of takes control, but very calmly, and that's what I kind of just kind of stole that from anybody medical around me. Their kind of temperament is so kind of in control and so professional, and just it's their job to get the job done, and to make sure that everybody, you know, is safe, because that's what you're trained in. I mean, I think it's a very hard thing to do, because your first instinct is to go, you know. But I tried not to do that, and I'm being more Frankie.
What was the biggest challenge for you when you were thinking about shall I do Frankie? What was the most, looking ahead, and in the end, what was the biggest challenge?
At no point did I think, should I do Frankie? It was as soon as I heard about Frankie, I kind of said, who's playing him? How many guns have I got? You know, how many aliens are there? And when they said no, the lead character is a female, and when I read the first script, it's just a roller coaster of kind of events, and she is just this firework. She's this, you know, she's a firework to play and interesting to play, because she does have all those things to do with patients, but then you see her have a social life as well, and her kind of fun side, and you know, her kind of Ken Bruce, you know, kind of addiction, which is great to play.
And that is Ken Bruce's voice.
He's
playing Ken Bruce.
Who
has an interesting email correspondence with you, doesn't he?
Yes, yeah. Ken Bruce was my saviour. When my husband died, my husband was Scottish, and I really missed that male presence and the Scottish accent. And Ken Bruce was that for me. I'd put him on every morning at 9:30, and he would carry me through the morning. So that's why I gave Frankie Ken Bruce.
That's an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
So talking of Scottish accents, onto the sexy male nurse, Terry. What was it like for you being part of a team entirely women and a woman doctor, the nemesis, Dr. Evans? She marvellous with chili knickers.
I really enjoyed it. I didn't really. We just had. It was just such a great time that we had. And I think it. You'll see more and more as the series progresses. That I hope that it comes across on screen that we all got on really, really well. So I didn't particularly feel that I was a man stuck in a woman's world. Just enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the scripts, and I mean, there's Andy gets a lot more to do. Sort of, you see him doing a bit of his nursing stuff in later episodes. So yeah, we just had a great time, really. And,
is it fair to say that Andy's got the work-life balance a little bit more?
I think so. No, Andy is. I think Andy's the kind of the centre point that Frankie comes back to. She goes off on her little mad bits, and he keeps her kind of grounded at certain times at work, and is the person that knows her best and knows what he has to put up with as well at home. And yeah, he's very solid, Andy. That's the thing. I think that's why him and Frankie get on so well. And he takes his work seriously, but he doesn't take himself too seriously.
Sexy and solid.
So Ian, Dean, I'm surprised there wasn't a slight boo at the end of that. You're going to be out in the cold a little bit for the rest of the series, aren't you? What was that like, having started off as the golden boy?
Just repeat the question. I'm sorry, I'm still on sexy and solid.
You were still thinking of sexy and solid. No, it's just, you know, Ian, who having been, you know, an absolute shoo-in and taken for granted, as we've all seen a bit by Frankie in episode 1, you know, makes this catastrophic mistake at the end of the first episode. And they have to live with it.
Tough to get your head around how he could make such a catastrophic mistake, really. But the
Do you
only
think
way
he
I can
regrets
really,
it?
well, I hope so.
You'll see.
But you know, just yeah, it was a tough one to kind of get my head around how you could make such a bad judgment and such a bad
young, blonde,
mistake. Let me finish. Yeah,
Every guy can hear us thinking, no, it's quite easy.
I know. No, but I mean, you know, obviously he's emotionally immature, and you know, it was I bought that though.
No, absolutely, convinced,
bought it.
completely.
So that's the first time we've seen that, of course.
That's the first time we've seen it.
That's the first time we've seen it.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a terrific scene, isn't there, in episode 2, when the two of you, you know, are supposed to have a little reconciliation cup of tea by the side of the road, and it goes a bit wrong. Yeah, so you were almost as on much of a emotional roller coaster as Frankie throughout the whole series, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's twice we've had the roller coaster phrase. Can you cut that out of everything?
Yeah. All right. Fun. Shall I? I'd love to throw it open to you guys. So, gentleman here.
Firstly, congratulations. I thought that was terrific.
Oh, thank you.
Not least as a huge Ken Bruce fan myself. 2 questions for Eve, if I may. Firstly, did you do any of your own research? And secondly, did you draw on any of your own experiences with the nursing or medical professions?
Well, my husband-to-be's auntie was a district nurse, and I've also got medical people living next door to me. So they're sick to the back teeth of me, because I pluck their brains from everything. I'm the person who does the most homework. I kind of try to do as much prep, and I can turn up and not make a complete fool of myself, and have, you know, because it's important. But I think with this, it's not all about, I mean, there's not close-up shots of medical things. You know they're happening, so you can get away with a little bit, but it's good to have backup. And we had a fantastic district nurse on set with us, and a medic on set. And actually, the guy who was the props on there, he's an ex-nurse, so there was constantly I had medical kind of advice around me.
Lady there.
Lots of wonderful music in the first episode, and I love the way that Frankie responds to it. And different songs seem to appear at just the right time. What songs would appear on a soundtrack to your own life?
Me? Oh, I think a lot of Guns. A lot of probably old Guns and Roses, and you know, I'm kind of old school. You know, yeah.
But Lucy, but the songs in your life, because I mean, a lot of these songs were in the script actually.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah. And I love it when there's a little echo. I loved it when you sort of sniggered when The Boy Does Nothing came on.
It's clever. That's very good.
Can I ask just, do we find out any more of what made Frankie become a district nurse in the first place?
I hope so, gradually during the course of the series. I mean, I don't think there's no sort of great psychological, I think that, you know, in life you end up taking turns that you don't expect to take, you know, and I think she's taken some turns she didn't expect to take, but, you know, towards the end of the series she's beginning to say, you know, what now, where do I go now, sort of thing.
The show really looks at different sorts of nursing, doesn't it? As you say, the girls are graduate nurses, but there's, you know, there's a graduate detachment, but there's also graduate compassion. You know what I mean? And the Frankies.
I mean,
there's a lot of different.
Julia Ford is a lovely old-fashioned nurse, you know, who's sort of no nonsense, and you know, if you don't work, and you know, probably if you're, I don't know, if you're gay or whatever, you know, then you're not quite the same as the rest of us. And she's great because she rubs up against the rest of the team, and she's the grit in the oyster. And is good fun.
I was about the Ken Bruce involvement. Was he easy to convince to take part in this series? I understand that you have some accepts, especially.
Yeah, he's lovely. He's done a few voiceovers for me in previous films, and he's never any trouble. I mean, I wasn't there at the recording, but the producer was there, Ez, and she said that he just went in and did it exactly as written, no problem at all. And he's lovely. But I've listened to him so much I could write his down for him, you know.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, obviously the storyline about the older guy being put into care, I mean, were you trying to get across the message that people are prematurely put into homes?
I think the thing is, everyone thinks I've got a message. I really haven't got a message. All I'm trying to do is reflect society. And in society now what happens is that people get onto a sort of a conveyor belt where they either end up in care or completely neglected, you know, one or the other, and there's no sort of happy medium. You know, I've got a friend at the moment who's working, she's had to cut down her work from 5 days a week to 3 days a week to care for her aged father, who falls 3 or 4 times a day, and she can't get any help for him. She's sleeping on his sofa. She's got 2 dogs, which she has to take to his house, sleep on his sofa every night. She goes home to get a shower and to get changed and everything. Chances are while she's there, he will fall again. She goes back, you know, and it's, I'm not giving any message. I'm just saying to people, this is a reflection of our society now. This is what happens.
Just going back to the singing and dancing, how were you filming those scenes?
I loved it.
And secondly, what was your take on the Doctor Who line in bed?
Well, all three of us have been in Doctor Who, so we all kind of went. That was fun. It was fun, and that's a nice kind of little thing to be in there. But the dancing and the singing was the way Lucy writes it down in the kind of description is it's fantastic. And then you just, you know, you can't help but kind of, you get a character like that, you can't help but just, you know, ring it for all it's worth. And go for it, because if you don't go for it, you're going to look ridiculous. So go for it, have fun, and hopefully you have fun watching it. So, I mean, there's a lot more to come. There's a lot more to come.
Yeah.
And I got the first email I got back from Lucy, I was going, oh my goodness, have I gone down the right road? You know, because there's about 6, and I've got to choose one with these dancing sequences. But she loves music. I mean, her kind of job is, you know, she's crammed every day with kind of patients, and they all are, you know, and there's a tremendous amount of pressure on them every day, and they're, you know, they're here, there and everywhere. They're on the road all the time, they're giving advice, they're listening every day, they're doing their job. They've got to release somewhere. And when I was talking to the district nurse, I said, you know, does this make sense? Have you seen this? And she said, as soon as I close that car door, all hell breaks loose. It's, you know, this is my disco, this is my office, this is the place I want to be, because it's my private place and I can be myself and let off steam. So me and Ken, right in that, I get home, chuck some rollers in, put my best pants on, chuck out a jig, and it kind of just, you know, it just gets her going, and that's a real big side of Frankie that I love playing. You know, you don't, you know, at 34, you don't get the chance to kind of shake your booty on BBC telly like that, and I get the chance to do it. Thank you.
Every chance she got, mate, she was there.
I did.
Made the most of it.
Derek kept going, are you dancing again?
Another dancing scene.
It was a bit like rationing Soldier Soldier and trying to keep Robson and Jerome away from singing, you know.
So what was it like actually watching it back on the big screen as well?
Oh, horrendous. No, really horrendous. But, no, it's fun, and I hope people smile and enjoy it.
Yeah, the birth scene was a bit of an eye-opener, mainly because I'm about 3 months off
It
that situation myself.
Fine.
Just wanted to ask what it was like actually acting around a newborn, because it looked like a real newborn to me.
Yes, it was a newborn.
Was it?
No, it was not.
Yeah.
It wasn't a newborn.
It was
No,
one of
but
Marcus's.
we'd filmed that scene. Mark, the director, he'd done it so cleverly. He just let the camera run, and then we'd stop, and then we'd get into different positions and just let it run. So the actress on there, God bless her, she huffed and puffed like a big bad wolf for about 5 hours, and we actually thought there was a baby at the end of it. There should have been a baby at the end of it with the amount of work she put into it. But yeah, it was long, but it was brilliant. And I mean, I'm a mum myself, so I was kind of giving advice and all the rest of it. A lot of it hasn't been used because we can't air that kind of language. It was, don't worry. Don't worry.
She was actually a pregnant actress. Was she?
No, but that's really good. That's excellent. I mean, she did a superb job. And bless her, because of all that breathing, you know,
Get it like Eddie, don't you?
hyperventilated, it was all a little bit, you know. But she was fantastic. Yeah.
Any indication yet where it's going to sit in the schedule?
Well, it won't be confirmed quite yet. You know, it will be fairly soon, but the actual TX date will be released. It's normally sort of 3 or 4 weeks before we wrap it up, isn't it? But it's imminent.
Do you know if it's an 8 p.m. or a 9 p.m.?
9.
9.
Thank you.
Get rid of a frag then.
No, we're
10.
we're moving the news. Hold the front. 9.
One more, just
No,
Frankie,
fine. Bring them on.
Was there any particular storyline, not particularly in this episode, or legacies that really upset you or touched you or resonated with you?
Yeah, I think I'm a mum, so anything to do with children, it affects, even if you're not a parent, anything to do with children, it affects you. And even when you just, you know, you're performing and you're acting and you've got a script, there's still something you've got to connect with it, and it's you know, quite heartbreaking. But we've got in every episode, we have great guest leads coming in and great, you know, different storylines that come in. There's a through storyline straight through the 6 episodes, but each one is different, and each one of them has its own kind of tone, really, and affects Frankie differently. And whether, you know, they don't see that, but the viewer will see how it affects her.
I think it's also that you go, you know, the stories sometimes start with the discovery of illness, but sometimes they are the end of illness, people being sent home from hospitals. So you come in at quite unexpected points in people's lives. There's an absolutely incredibly powerful story in episode 2, for example, which you got a glimpse of, which I won't give away anything. But it's a big story, you know, and it's that thing that all of human life is in a medical drama, because all of human life, you come at it at different points and places, so you come at emotions in different strengths, and a lot of it's very funny, a lot of it's heartbreaking. It's a hugely rich tapestry.
Was the success of Call the Midwife in any way a catalyst for this series? Because I appreciate they're different professions.
No, they
we're
were
talking
in
about.
development. I can absolutely honestly say, because you know, we were developing this before Call Midwife was actually transmitted, and well, yeah, even the first one was transmitted before it was even commissioned, actually. So these things, you know, just happen out there, really. But we've been talking about this as long as they've been talking about Call Midwife.
Will there be a second series?
Yeah. If everybody loves it, that's always the answer.
For Dean, Derek and Eve, I was wondering what your own sort of personal pie charts were in terms of a work-life balance. And how you sort of go about trying to maintain it at a
Work-life balance. I like working. I think I just like working. I think, you know, but now, it's just that it changes. As soon as you've got children, it changes, and everybody that's got a child out there knows your priorities change, and so maybe the decisions that you make work-wise are dictated a little bit more by your family and where you want to be, and if you want to be away from home, and so it's never easy balancing, certainly being an actor, and balancing that work-life thing, but you try and, you know, get it as even as you possibly can.
Well, I agree with you are looking very sexy. I agree with your comments, Derek. Yes, I try and work as little as possible. I mean, I'm very selective. No, I've got two young boys, so you know, I much to the annoyance of my agent, I can be quite difficult to get into work. Sometimes it's good to have a break. It's good, isn't it? It's healthy to get away. Look in on your wonderful life.
Yeah, exactly. And appreciate the work.
50-50 would be wonderful, but I mean, you know, you take it when it comes. Eve?
I'm just like one of those big fold-over pizzas that's just kind of like packed with stuff that I don't need, and you know, just packed. Please let this end. I try to do 50-50, you know, I just try to do as much good work as I can, but you know, it's important that you're not always working either with young children, because that's what they kind of remember as well. So, and what's nice about our job is that you can bring them on set, which is lovely. You know, that's
what
kind of
you
nice.
do.
Yeah, that's really nice. Matilda does think that I work in a trailer and out in a car park. Oh yes, I very poorly a couple of weeks ago, and I just got the first episode through, and I had quinsy, and I was on the couch, and Brad was out because I don't show him anything. Get out. And so I popped it on, and Matilda was about to go to sleep, and I thought, oh, it'll be fine, you know, there's no violence. So I popped it on, and the first scene obviously is me and Dean, and I kind of went, and I looked, and she literally did this. Oh, Mummy, you're kissing a prince. I said, don't tell your father.
You always liked her daughter, didn't you?
Yeah.
Has anybody got any other questions?
No? Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.